Yeah, a quick question. I don't think we were mentioning this in the second half hour. Is Francisco still alive technically?
Oh,
No,
well,
it's
it's a
dead.
remnant
It's
low.
dead?
It's think yeah, remnant low. I
Alright, yeah,
because the JTWC issued their last advisory at 9 Zulu, so that was about 12, no, almost 18 hours ago now.
yeah, I just had to check in though, because the JCWSP's been in on the Looney Tunes today.
Oh, don't say that. They might be watching.
uh,
Speaking of forecast though, do we want to check out some of the forecast models on both the systems?
We did do a bit of that, but if you want to do some more,
Yeah.
then
I was just keeping that in mind because the average view duration's, around 8 minutes or so. So top of the hour, probably got a fresh
oh my
cycle of
goodness.
people coming in.
Strat, shut up and get on with any
Strat.
model runs if you're gonna
All right,
shut
all right,
up.
all right,
Gee
all right,
whiz.
all right, all right.
All right,
Cool off,
we are here to
cool off.
serve. If anyone does have any pressing questions, someone talking about Discord, we do have a moderation team, and most of them are busy right now.
All right. I do have the model runs. Some of them up on the screen if you want to take a look at those.
Yes, go right ahead, Strat. I mean,
So
a lot of
we
people
got the
like this
west
section, but
right here, far north off of North Korea. There's
yeah,
Francisco,
there it is.
Krosa on the right, Lekima on the left. This is the GFS run, so we'll go out to uh 24 hours. It definitely broadens Lekima's wind field significantly. Uh, from this point, it reaches down from central Luzon all the way up towards Shanghai in terms of latitude, and Krosa's there passing north of the Northern Mariana Island. The interesting thing about this GFS run is within the 5-day timeline, brings it close to a landfall on the Shanghai area, typhoon winds possibly reaching onshore, loops it back out to the east, paralleling the coastline, then wraps it into Beijing, just south of Beijing, and then tries to loop it out again towards Korea, within a 1 week time frame. So at least with GFS, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not it kind of stalls and loops back around to parallel if it actually moves inland. With Krosa, um, you'll see a more northerly initial direction, then northeast, loops to the northwest, pulling out is what the model is currently calling for. I want to take a look at the European too, though. This is the European 2 days out for both these systems. It has Lekima further south a bit, so that could be crucial in determining how much Taiwan gets impacted, as well as some of the Japanese islands. Krosa's massive on this, though, in terms of its sheer size. The Euro actually brings a landfall into China for Lekima, and then it does also try to drag it back in towards mainland China, Beijing, as a still tropical system after a little bit of a pullback over. Interestingly, though, this is going to be a big variant. Is that the European model actually tries to have Krosa make a landfall in Japan, in the very similar area to where Francisco made landfall. So this is significantly contrary to what the GFS has. European has a landfall in Japan. Same time frame, GFS has Krosa cruising off to the northeast away from Japan at this point in time. So in terms of development, that's going to be very interesting to watch. Uh, the the Najim's also more in favor of a stall off and then pull probably towards the northeast later on in its time frame. So that could be coming 2-3 days from now. Once Lakima's main land threat starts to diminish after landfall, it's still definitely the primary threat right now. Where Krosa could go in this regard is
Just before we
in
move on
north.
to that, a question here. What are the chances of tropical storm force winds in North Korea and South Korea? I assume from Lekima. They're around 10% along the western coast, which is already quite substantial so far out. That's because it's such a large system, Lekima. Not as large as Krosa, though, Strat.
Yeah, I'll take a quick look back there in a second for Lakino on the YouTube there. Uh, I think I'm pretty sure that yeah, the HRR is definitely under on the it's around the intensity. It tries to weaken it significantly though off the bat, and then carry it up. It brings it closer than GFS and NavGem. Kind of clips. I think that's the probably around the Tokyo area with some tropical storm force winds before it probably jets off. I want to see what it does with Lekima though. We'll go way back to the start. Let that load up. It initializes it. This is the 18th. It initializes it way weaker than it actually is. It initializes it at 106 knots.
That's
You can
typical,
see
though.
the wind field is still expansive because that whole monsoonal flow definitely extends the wind field down south. Within 24 hours of initialization, has it at 114 knots. Still weaker than what it currently is. Keeps it around category 3 to 4 intensity until it passes Taiwan latitudinal line, and then weakens it significantly as it makes landfall in China, according to this model, from back into a tropical storm. Pulls it back out in between China and the Koreas, and then pushes it back inland towards the end of the model run. There is a consensus that it's going to try to pull back out into the sea, whether or not it makes landfall, and kind of push back in a bit more further north into China. But the intensity it does so at, and the range and how far back over water it does go, if it does at all, is still up for grabs at this point.
All right. We've had a question from Gary the Snail. Do you think
boy.
Eric could regenerate?
Okay, I think Eric is still
no.
Hold up.
I don't think
he's
so.
Not here.
No,
He's
it
not
better
here.
not
Hold
be
up.
there either. That'd be outrageous.
No, this is important
It's not
though. We
gonna
have to
happen.
go put some effort. It's in the Central Pacific right now, right?
I think it's entering the Western Pacific now.
Where is it? This is Eric here. This is 3 days ago.
Right.
It shows nothing.
Western Pacific strat. Western.
I know. Is it? Look, it's. I'm just showing it here. Look, this is Eric.
Yeah.
72 hours ago. There. We'll track it as it goes into the Western Pacific. It doesn't exist, but I'll shift over to the Western Pacific just to fancy details. It would be around here.
Right.
On the bottom of the screen.
More questions. How big would the extensive damage from Lekima be? Well, that's a very vague question. We can only give you a very vague answer, considering the event hasn't yet unfolded. But given that it's a stage 10 on the CDPS scale, extreme to complete damage is possible in some areas.
Yeah.
You know, the Miyako-jima Islands, perhaps. I mean, maybe not, because I assume they are very well prepared for these storms, given just how vulnerable that area of land is. But everyone has to be cautious, for sure. If this storm does strike those islands near its full potential, then you certainly won't want to be out anywhere near that.
Oh, for sure. And just to fancy people that were wondering about Eric, the Europeans don't on for it either, but it does show a crossover storm forming at the end of this model run. That goes into the fake news category, though, as it's 10 days out.
People are talking about all kinds of severe weather in the U.S. as well.
Yes,
Green Bay, Wisconsin, destructive winds and hail.
Yes,
so,
that
U.S. team, you going live tonight as well, or what?
Probably not.
No.
Yeah. I know someone whose plane, they were flying back from LA to New York, they had to divert. It's because normally those planes will go north through the Midwest. They had to go all the way into the Gulf of Mexico and around the East Coast again. So disruptive weather for
Just
sure
avoid the U.S. in a year like this. Severe weather every day, forever.
Yeah, this year's definitely been extraordinary, to say the least.
Ryan, we're on your screen now.
Okay, good. I can try.
Oh, okay. So I'm showing the RAM model plot thing here. You can see here, I guess, the projected track of Lekima with all the models. You can really see. I think looks like there's a really good consensus that it's going to continue on its northwestern motion. Hit probably near Ishigaki-jima, I believe is what those islands are called.
One of them
and then moving up towards and then really just, I guess, paralleling the east coast of China there, and maybe staying just offshore of Shanghai is what most of the models are calling. The JTW is almost going directly over Shanghai, but The other models want to really make it stay out over water for longer, and then it looks like it's going to curve back and then make landfall in eastern China. So there's that. If we look at the intensity, which isn't really helpful at this, considering that the HWRF at its peak is calling for 150 miles per hour, it's probably going to get there, and all these models pretty far behind as they've had a hard time catching up with Lekima's rapid intensification. If we look at the shear here, it's still going to be very low for the next 4 days, so it's still, and also the sea surface temperatures, look at that, still have at least 30 degrees Celsius for about a day or two, so this could, again, it could do some strengthening, and even the moisture here, it's still really good, so
Could someone just remind me, the HWRF model, what intensity is it predicting at the Chinese landfall there?
the Chinese landfall, that would probably be, I would assume, that is hard to tell, because there's not really...
I'm checking right now.
Thanks. I'm just trying to... Some people have been asking about certain things. It's just made me wonder how it compares to other storm landfalls in the same area. Perhaps we can give some analogs.
Well, it looks like the HWRF is calling for a Cat 1 based on...
That first landfall, when it brushes just south of Shanghai? Cat 1?
Just south of Shanghai. I don't know. It looks like mid-range Cat 1.
The HWRF has a 943 millibar landfall in China during the last model run.
So that's probably Category 3 right there. It's not that rare. Category 3 storms have made landfall in that area before. I'll give you a few names. Canoon of 2005 is one. Tilda of 1961. Gloria of 1949, Category 2. Wanda of 1956 is the big exception. Made landfall there was a Category 4 just south of Shanghai. The strongest
that was a pretty bad one.
To strike Shanghai properly, I would say, is probably Pearl in 1948, long time ago. Category 2, of course, it might have been weaker because we might have some gaps in those observations. But there haven't been any storms of Category 2 or higher, if this storm managed it.
And
say not that rare.
Have it make landfall south of Shanghai. It passes over Shanghai.
I was talking about that area just a little bit further south, first of all, Strat, where it isn't as rare. But for Shanghai itself, it is a lot more rare. If it was to pass very close to Shanghai as a Category 2, it would be the first time in at least 2 generations that a storm has done that.
That would be incredible to experience.
And that would also be pretty bad, I would have to say. I mean, Shanghai is one of the largest cities in the world. I think it is the largest if you're just talking about the city itself. With like, what, 25 million people?
It passing over Shanghai at a slightly higher pressure of 964.
That is still a borderline Cat 1-2 intensity. So that's interesting food for thought once again. If you're thinking about analogs for Taiwan and the Japanese islands, then let's take a look at that too just now. I'm just loading things up here.
So the HWR does tend to over intensities.
It does, sometimes. Depends. We'll throw back to Isaac's imagery for the time being. It's sideways.
Oh, I didn't know you were looking at it. I wasn't expecting you to go onto it. Yeah, well, 3 hours looking at your graphic.
You'll have to turn your heads at home. Isaac, we're still...
Is it upside down?
It is sideways.
Sideways.
Sideways. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna turn.
It's
off
right
this
side up
noise.
for me.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll
and
come
just-
back. We'll come back to that. But we'll go to Tim instead.
I'm gonna turn off.
And just for the meantime, I'd like to remind people if they have any questions for us to answer on stream, just start your message with Force13 or at Force13 so we can see it light up in bright orange for us.
What I can tell you is Category 4 plus landfalls on those southernmost Japanese islands aren't very rare. So on the eastern island, Miyakojima I think that one is, that island has had a Category 5 landfall before, Typhoon Sarah of 1959. It also had another borderline Category 5 landfall, Miami I think it is. Miami?
Mamie.
2003.
I think it's Mamie.
Mamie?
That was 2003.
Nina
Wasn't
of
that like a Cat 5?
1953 was a Category 4.
It was.
Olga of 1970 was a Category 3. Kora of 1966 passed very close to the island as a Category 5. For the other islands, Ishigaki, Ryan of 1995 was a Category 4.
Wow.
Over that island, Betty of 1972, landfall, Category 4, Glory of 1963 as well. The other island to the west, which is called... Oh, I should remember. We had it at the start of the show. The island to the west of Ishigaki, I've forgotten its name. I'm so sorry. Wifa of 2007 was a Category 4. Shanshan of 2006 as well. So, they are as common as muck, really, these strong storms that strike the Japanese islands. And then you talk about the northern tip of Taiwan. Now, it would appear that it will only get Category 1 conditions there, although we should be mindful that the storm could still deviate and maybe deliver worse winds. Taiwan has had a lot worse than that, although maybe not with such a large wind field. Herb of 1996 probably springs to a lot of people's minds, and that was a fairly large storm if I remember right. Also occurred at a similar time of year, which is not that many of them occurred in early August. So that's an interesting parallel that we can draw.
And a couple points here for you, Nathan. That island
Sure.
that you were wanting, what is to the west of
Got.
Ishigaki? You have Iramote Ishigaki
That's the
National
one.
Park,
Iramote.
and then you have Iramote, and then you have Yonaguni, which that was the
Yonaguni.
island that David and I were first initializing.
That's the
Lekima
tiny
off
one,
of.
isn't it?
Yes, that is just
Yes.
to the west of Iramote. And then the other point you were wondering about earlier is USGS has revised the earthquake for Taiwan at 5.9. Interesting to note is it was 16 kilometers southeast of Suao Township in Yilan County, Taiwan, which is ironically where we're seeing these bands from Lekima go through over the past few hours. So sad to say, Yilan County got a 1-2 punch in terms of tragic weather. You can see the banding that came through there. Yeah, it went through there about 2150 Zulu, which ironically, the earthquake, according to USGS, occurred at 2128. So you've had the earthquake, and then you had the rain bands that came through. So Yilan County really getting hammered today with the earthquake and the heavy rainfall.
Yeah, and just to clarify for people that might not know the exact location of the names, we're talking about northern Taiwan for them.
Yeah, Yilan County is
Yeah, 'cause
this
I'm just
stretch
assuming.
here.
Okay, I got you. Just because I'm pretty sure
Northeast.
not everyone viewing will know exactly where those locations are on the map.
Or indeed how to pronounce
just-
any of these locations. God.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some pronunciation butchering tonight.
Well,
Unfortunately.
just to give some perspective, because I think, Nathan, you're still on the Taiwan radar on my screen.
Yes.
Where my cursor, that's Taipei. You have Keelung City to the north. This landmass down over here, that is Yilan County. That is where we had the earthquake earlier. Then you have Taroko National Park and Hualien County down along this western side. So that's just a little bit of the geography of Taiwan there. You have Hsinchu City on the other side, just to the southwest of Taipei. And you have Taoyuan City just to the northeast of Hsinchu City. So That's a few cities and a few geography landmarkers for the viewers that are wondering where these areas are being impacted in Taiwan.
Tim, I'm starting to wonder whether we might well be seeing or have seen the peak of the storm by now, because I'm not Isaac, by the way. I don't know why that's on the screen. As it comes up here, this imagery that we're looking at right now, the new imagery, it looks to me, if you can see this with me, that there are multiple fractures in the eye wall. So we could be seeing the beginning of a phase here where it's in a perpetual eye wall replacement cycle, and it just won't be able to get all those chopped up bits of eye wall together now and form itself and really kick on and intensify more. Does anyone think that's the case?
Could be a possibility.
Yeah, it is definitely a possibility, especially when it has only 18 hours left for it to really intensify.
Yeah. At the same time, though, you know, the biggest concern is that the system is very broad and has a significantly sized wind field, and then just the rainfall as well. And interestingly, I know we were asking for information from viewers if they're in Taiwan about the earthquake or potential preparations. We do have someone in the chat, and I'm very thankful for this. That's telling us that train services are having delays over in northern Taiwan at the moment in time.
All right. Yeah, I doubt there's much effects on land at the minute apart from preemptive measures, which I assume that is.
Yeah, I think this probably mostly in response to the earthquake, though, directly that these train delays are happening for. But I am thankful that we're getting updates from viewers in the chat about that. If you have anything else, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll be able to relay them.
So there we are. We're looking at that. But I believe multiple areas of the storm there is struggling, especially when you look at the yellows of cloud tops. The southern side, there is a clear fracture there. What looks like the east, maybe northeast side, looks like there's a fracture in the band there as well. And then you've got the northwestern side, which is quite visible on the visible imagery, if I'm not mistaken. Let's zoom back in on the visible here to show you what's going on that perspective.
While you're loading up, I have a question that you might be able to answer that could provide quite interesting. Has the Philippines been the location to record the highest rainfall total from Lekima so far?
I haven't got a clue.
I was thinking you might, but I'm just saying that because the monsoonal band that's starting to slowly detach from the system is still dumping significant amounts of rain over northern Luzon. And even though I've been away from the computer large chunks of the day, I'm assuming that's been the case for quite a while at this point in time. Meanwhile, Taiwan hasn't seen significant rainfall yet. So it was an interesting question that I thought I might pose.
Well, what we can do is take a look at, or I'll go and take a look behind the scenes here at some satellite estimates at how much rain has fallen over the area, and we'll see what we get. At the minute, we're looking at imagery provided by... Is it still Tim? Let's shoot over to Isaac's imagery as well now, because we've not seen that in a while. If you're ready. There's some radar.
Oh, I accidentally realized I muted myself. I was going to say, is it upside down or anything, Nathan?
It's fine.
Okay. Well, with this radar, actually, let me change this here a little bit. You're going to see a bit of a lag here. Okay, so you get a closer image there. See the eye wall there? Quite clearly, well defined. Looks like the western side seems to be the strongest part of it, and the eastern side seems to be the weakest. And then also you get to see, if I zoom out a little bit more, you can see the outer eye walls here, the concentric eye walls. You can see the outer eye wall here, and an eye wall right there. Again, the outer eye wall, right around there, and the eye wall. If you zoom out, get a better look at the system as a whole. And over here, you can see there's already some outer bands affecting the Ryukyu Islands, Japan already. I was looking at a video from James Reynolds, is well known for hunting typhoons around this area, and he's in this island over here, and he's already having I think tropical depression force winds over there as of about 2 hours ago or so when he posted a video onto Twitter. So conditions are going to continue to deteriorate over these islands here. Sorry, that went out of focus. Conditions are going to deteriorate over the next hours here on these islands as the storm draws closer. Whether or not it intensifies, strengthens, or weakens will not matter at all. The damage, the impact for the storm rather will be still known for those islands. But just wanted to set the radar, and also have the satellite on this side here. You can see, of course, Lekima on the bottom right. You see Krosa on the bottom, not bottom right, bottom. You see Krosa on the bottom right, and you see Lekima on the bottom left. I'm sorry, my mind's all jumbled right now. And then over to the top middle there, you see both systems right now on water vapor. See how they look at right now, and note that. Go ahead, whoever.
I don't think anyone was going ahead, but we're gonna take another short break here now on Force 13 Live. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more information on these storms, and we'll have some more in-depth rainfall estimates for you in just a few minutes as well. As you can see on my screen, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. Has launched a merch store where you can support our project even more by showing our colours, just like this shirt I'm wearing, or if the weather gets a bit colder, maybe this hoodie as well, of course. And of course they go in all kinds of different varying colours. Or even pillows. I love a good pillow fight. Or even these amazing hurricane themed phone cases. Or how about a drink out of this Force 13 mug? So you can find the wonders of Force 13's merch store online at store.force13.com. Ah! Oh! Who did that? What on earth was that, by the way? Our new merch ad. Okay, well that's that. This is the latest imagery on Typhoon Lekima. Let's go and take a look at the rain totals, what we're expecting, or what is currently occurring, I should say. Coming back with us at this time is the Force 13 team, which consists of quite a few people, but I think we do have a new arrival. David?
Good to be here.
It is good to be here. Have you got any input before I delve into this right now?
Just looking at a couple of live streaming webcams in the Taiwan region, I think. Tim's got one. I'm looking at one and not much activity at this point in time.
All right, we're looking at this imagery now, and this is one that I think people have I've certainly enjoyed showing it over the last few years, especially in the harder to reach places of the world. It does have more frequent imagery, or it should do at any rate. Usually more up to date as well. So here you can see significant amounts of rainfall reaching Ishigaki right now. Something like, I can't remember the key to these colors, and it's gone missing.
I believe the orange is there, Nathan.
There it is.
10 millimeters per
There's your key.
hour.
So those are the numbers there. So sort of the pinkish color that's there, I think. Is that the right one? Just beyond orange? Yeah, 25 millimeters per hour occurring near Ishigaki, and briefly reached 30 just on that image there. So that is moving through that island right now, so that is pretty current. Near the storm itself, these are satellite estimates. Huge amounts of rainfall, especially on the southeastern side. Also looking further south over the Philippines, significant amounts of rain over the northwestern part of Luzon as well. Where's that near? Near Laoag, I think it is. I've no idea how you pronounce that one. Laoag. Up to maybe 40 millimeters of rain per hour rain rate in one or two areas there. And in the Cagayan Valley as well, possibly significant rainfall there too at this hour, and further south. Taiwan, there's been a little bit going on there. It just seems to have disappeared. I don't know if that's actually true, but I guess the best place to look at for Taiwan right now is that radar, which I'm sure we'll be seeing bits of here and there. And at the moment it's Ryan who's showing that radar. What's going on over Taiwan right now, if anything?
Well, you can see here over Taiwan, there really isn't much here, except it looks like this, I don't know if this is really associated with Lekima at all. It looks like it's over the northern tip of Taiwan. Would that be near Taipei, probably? I think Taipei would be right around there, right? So they're probably getting some rain.
Just
and
south
then you
of
can see
southwest.
here, just south, okay. And you can also see the outer bands of Lekima all through here. It looks like they're really starting to affect some of those Japanese islands. And then you can see Lekima here, just off the edge of the radar. And you can see it's a really big area of thunderstorms here off the east coast of Taiwan. That's quite interesting. It seems strong, probably associated with Lekima as well.
Yeah, around that area that's getting the rain you were alluding to is New Taipei City, just south of Taiwan. That also includes
Taipei.
Wulai District.
All right.
What's the speed of the system? Is it still the same, or is it slow?
I'll give you an indication on that. Let's go back over the last 3 hours or so, and I can tell you that its movement has been approximately, over just a 3-hour period, it has moved 24 miles, so that's 8 miles an hour, northwest.
Now, are we going to see a landfall on Taiwan, or is it going to skirt to the north?
Some models still want it, but it's increasingly likely that it's going to miss landfall, but typhoon conditions still very possible in northernmost Taiwan.
And the rainfall factor is a key component.
Still a big factor. Here we are looking at the floater imagery again, showing Lekima's progress as it continues to venture northwest. And is it slowing down? Do we know? I think it has.
If it slows down, what does that mean?
Well, it's not good news, that's for sure, because one, it has more time to intensify, and two, it has more opportunity to deliver huge amounts of rainfall to these locations.
And the more intense it is, probably the more rainfall it could produce.
Now, what's the steering mechanism doing?
Good question.
I haven't had a chance to read what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is saying, but I'm just thinking of previous systems that we've covered, Tim, where the steering mechanisms have been very critical and the ridges. So, Tim, you might be able to answer that one if you got any information.
I have not actually had the chance to look at the steering for this. I can actually take a look at that.
Tim, what are we looking at right now?
On my screen, this is a live shot out of Taipei.
Yeah, there's the railway line there. Sorry, Tim, the right-hand side. And I was looking for that link, and that's one that I normally monitor. So it looks quiet, and what, this time tomorrow it could be a completely different picture.
Let's go over to Isaac and what he's oh. Tim, did you have something else?
Yeah, I was just piggybacking off of what David was saying. Yeah, it is quiet there right now, even though they had a band of rain that just came through there a few hours ago, went down through New Taipei City. So, and it does look like there might be another band getting ready to come in shortly, so we may see a few rainy conditions in Taipei. I'll actually be keeping an eye on this camera as we keep broadcasting, see if there's any change in the camera.
Feel free to break in at any point if anything happens. Isaac, anything you can tell us about this radar shot that we're looking at?
Well, I can tell you, it looks like the outer eye wall is becoming more pronounced now as it's heading into the area of the Japanese radar sites here. Of course, you can see the inner eye wall there still pretty potent, but it does seem that the western eye wall seems to be the stronger part. The eastern eye wall does not seem to be as intense as it was earlier, as you might be able to see later in the loop how it kind of degrades in those colors.
Yeah.
Those orangey red colors kind of go away there as it heads over to Japanese islands. You can see the islands already are starting to get impacted by some scattered rain showers here throughout the past 3 hours, and they're like I've said earlier, there's gusty winds already on the islands being felt in advance from this storm, and it's only going to go downhill from now at this point, unfortunately. And if we go over towards the west here, you can see Taiwan, see the outer rain band going and impacting Taiwan at this point in time. Northern Taiwan, that is, by the looks of it. And you can see a wider shot of the typhoon itself. And I am noticing on radar, it looks like it's doing a little bit of a wobble here. Maybe a tricolor, can't even say it right for the life of me, but a tricolor wobble possibly on radar. So that's what might be making it slow down a tiny bit earlier.
I did have some working satellite imagery, but I've now discovered that I don't. So, we'll leave it with that for just a moment longer. Let's go to Tim's satellite imagery.
Yeah, thank you again, Nathan. More rapid scan imagery coming in, and where it looked like the eye was collapsing, it looks like it's trying to hollow itself back out here just in the last few frames. This is 2.5 hour imagery. We'll actually bring this back down to the last 15 minutes here.
So this is on the rapid scan.
Yep, this is 2.5 minute imagery. Most of this is about 30 minutes old. I'll have to see if I can get a quick refresh, see if we can get some fresh imagery coming in.
What's that what's the timestamp on the last frame, just out of curiosity?
014 UTC, so about 28 minutes ago.
Yes, okay. That's pretty much where I'm up to on my imagery as well. So we're all looking at very much the same thing. Let's take another look at a visible image, and you can see it once again here. A very pronounced band now on the southwestern side of the storm, and a lot of convective activity spreading over the Batanes Islands of the Philippines. Taiwan itself, still not much going on there, really, you must say. There are a few thunderstorms blowing up just off the coast, and there was one that just went through Ishigaki a moment ago as well. And the full bulk of the storm isn't too far away from affecting those southernmost Japanese islands now. As a matter of fact, let's just see if we can change this here. So you've got the main core of the storm, which is the circular area around the eye. If we measured the distance from that northwestern edge of that core to Ishigaki, for instance, it's currently 115 miles. With a movement of 8 miles per hour northwest, if it stayed true and steady to that course, it would get there in over 10 hours. About 14 hours, unless it speeds up. And that's about right. That's pretty much what the JTWC were calling for.
Nathan,
It is not going to be a quick process, this by any means. David?
You might want to monitor, if possible, International Space Station.
It won't be yet. A bit longer before that happens.
I think the next pass, yep.
We tried to get it last night, but the International Space Station missed.
Yep.
Well, actually, maybe you're onto something there. It might be getting a shot of Krosa shortly. Am I right?
Well, it's coming up. It's coming up over northwest WA and coming up.
Thanks
what
for
is it,
telling
East
me,
Timor?
because we might be missing something here.
No,
we do find these International Space Station views quite amazing, although it is a pretty poor quality camera today. Well, let's see what we can see. This is what the International Space Station is looking at right now. I'm not sure what exactly it's looking at there.
126. What is it? 11.54. 127.13. It's just coming up over to the north of Darwin or over Darwin, Northern Territory, so probably the southern.
It's looking straight
Philippines.
forwards. It's looking straight forwards today.
Yes, but the quality is a lot better.
You think so? It doesn't look like it to me.
Well,
unless you've got another one.
What it has been. No, they've only got the one channel, unfortunately.
The one that we're streaming right now, just to be sure.
Hang on, I better. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
We go quite crazy for the International Space Station because they do have such great passes when they do move over, and we don't want to miss them. Sometimes it can produce some absolutely beautiful imagery. So if it does transpire that it is moving over the storm, then we run with it. But it appears to me as though it's looking at pretty much nothing at the moment, David.
Yeah, I'll support that. Now, although you got 90. I was thinking 96W, but that's further west. But the western side is the southern region of the Philippines. So the next one, next flyover, Nathan.
Yeah, it looks like it. I'm just wondering whether on the very edge of the image there on the left-hand side, we might be seeing some more cloud, which could be part of Krosa, or not. I'm not sure.
That's the one that's further west, isn't it? No, further east.
We'll come back to that.
Sorry.
Just a moment. Yes. Okay, let's bring it back here. I was just checking something else as we were going along. View from the International Space Station, which is moving over the Pacific Ocean right now. If we get to see Krosa at all, it will be near the left-hand side of the image. in the next few minutes. In the meantime, if you've got any comments or questions for us about either of these two storms that we're covering tonight, most of our coverage is dealing with Lekima, of course. But any Krosa questions, you can ask us that as well. Justin?
What?
What's going on there?
I was just trying to look up information about Typhoon Krosa.
And Isaac's showing us some more imagery of both these two storms as well. Is that Sims imagery?
Yep.
And I like Sims imagery because it shows you the storm projected alongside its track forecast, and we can see whether it's been deviating or not. Lekima doesn't look like it's doing that at all.
Krosa's deviating
Krosa
slightly
is moving
west.
But if it hooks back east, then it could stay on track there.
And shear is relatively light for both systems. Krosa, although, is getting steered a little bit to the west there on the outer part of its city.
We're back with the International Space Station. I'm pretty sure that is Krosa appearing on the left-hand side. You're not going to see very much of it. You'll probably see part of the enormity of its massive bands and influence that extends from Iwo Jima pretty much all the way to Yap. It is incredible. It would appear to be that that is the storm on the left-hand side.
It's amazing how nowadays we can get live, pretty much real-time images from space of these storms when they go pass over. They provide really remarkable images. They did so with Cyclone Banzi, Joaquin, Michael, and many other well-known and infamous storms
Patricia.
throughout the year. Yeah, that one too.
Not the best quality imagery we've ever seen, but on the left, that is, I'm still not entirely sure, but it would make sense that that is Typhoon Krosa on the left-hand side.
I'm not sure. I would want to say it's Krosa because that one has kind of a lot of those kind of parts. But it very well could be Lekima.
We have some more questions whilst we look at this imagery. Do we think Lekima has finished its eye wall replacement cycle? Because the eye is getting slightly better.
Well, I could tell you that the radar itself, I'll just describe it to you watching the stream there. The reds have come more again back onto the eastern side. The weakest side of it, according to radar, seems to be the northern quadrant.
Right.
The rest of them seem to be doing fine, with the strongest being the western quadrant. I mean, it still has it.
It's all spinning around though, isn't it? You know, the weakest side will be west, then it'll be south, then it'll be east, then it'll be north.
But for the time being, it's due north.
Due north. Are we expecting this storm to be the worst in Ishigaki? Looks like it, we gotta say. Looks like it.
Deteriorating, getting big gusty winds.
And how wide is Krosa is a question. You're still looking at it, by the way. What's the latest JTWC forecast saying its current wind field is? Anyone have that?
Current wind field?
Yes.
Alright. Oh, I'm trying to find it.
Take your time. We're just looking at imagery of Krosa as we go past it in the International Space Station. The center of the storm is off to the left, probably off the screen, unfortunately. But you're just getting an impression here. This spacecraft is traveling at about 17,000 miles per hour, and it still takes several minutes for it to clear over the whole of Typhoon Krosa.
Regardless if we don't get the eye or not, it's still remarkable how we're able to get pretty much real time.
Alright, I think I got the
images from
current wind
space.
field for Typhoon Krosa. It's
Please.
195, 190, 170, and 145.
Okay, so its
Or
diameter, gale force diameter there is about
I prefer to
365 nautical miles, which is
No, hold on, let me check. Yeah, actually, that's the tropical storm force winds. Yes.
yep, 365 nautical miles, which is a lot of kilometers. I can't work that one out. About 700 kilometers, maybe. Bit less than that. 600 and something kilometers wide. I think we've cleared some of it by now. I'm not sure where exactly we are on this. But that was a cool International Space Station pass over Typhoon Krosa. Let's go back to Tim's screen showing more radar.
Was trying to see if I could find any live footage out of Ishigaki. I'm not having any luck with it. But yeah, we do have the Taiwan radar up here still, where the last bands did come through at Taipei. You can see just about the entire eye of Lekima coming in on Taiwan radar, and I'm still keeping an eye on that webcam out of Taiwan. Few darker clouds in and around the Taipei area. However, that is all associated with the band of showers and thunderstorms off of Lekima's outflow that blew through there just about, let's see here, probably just about an hour and a half ago.
Anything on the way?
Doesn't look like it. This was the last little patch that came through. If we do see another band coming through, it would be coming off of these bands here that are up by Miyakojima and Ishigaki, and would be coming in probably a few hours later. It is interesting to note that with the current path that we have been seeing, where it could go over Ishigaki, which I'll zoom in a little bit because I know it's really hard to see on the Taiwan radar, but here's Miyakojima here. Ishigaki, I believe, is this island right here. So you can see where Ishigaki got hit with this feeder band that came through earlier. They're actually getting ready to get another one here shortly. And if it parallels right between the two, Yiling County in Taiwan and all the way over to Miyakojima, you're going to probably get the worst of it if it follows right along the current track that we've been looking at.
All right. Just trying to configure a few things here. Let's go back.
I stand corrected. That is Yonaguni. That is the island I was pointing out between Yonaguni. That's the westernmost island of the Okinawa archipelago, and then you have Yiling County there that I was pointing out. So I marked the wrong island there. I do apologize for that.
Thank you for that clarification. We can see again on the live picture the storm right now. This is Typhoon Lekima at the latest picture. And it's something that we're going to be looking at for quite a while yet. Let's see if we have any more questions. What is the population of Ishigaki? Good question. I'll find out that.
I just looked that up.
Yeah.
It's roughly 47,000 as of the 2016 census, and our own Nelson providing that information as well.
That's around 48,000.
Tim, did you see the link I dropped in our chat right now?
Yeah, I did. I wasn't sure if we could actually.
I didn't have time to verify whether that's actually what it is or not. I'll let you do that part.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that one a few times. I wasn't sure if that was one we could actually use or not, but I will actually pull that up.
In the meantime, how will it impact Shanghai is another question that we've got here. And, you know, there is the very real chance of typhoon conditions being felt in Shanghai. And as I mentioned earlier, if it strikes Shanghai and is still a Category 2 when it passes close to there, that will be the biggest storm for that city in at least 40 years, possibly in around 70 or 80 years. It's massive. If that happens, they've had plenty of close calls before, and this could be another one that ends up ultimately missing, but you've got to prepare for the worst.
Okay, looking at that link you gave me, Nathan, it does look like this is actual live footage out of Ishigaki.
Alright, we'll get that up as soon as we can. In the meantime, Isaac, any updates from your end?
Oh, yes. In the newest frame, I'm seeing some fracturing in the eye on the eastern side here. The eastern side keeps wobbling around. Outer eye wall, I could still make out the outer eye wall quite clearly. If we go over towards the islands here, you can see, again, we're getting some scattered showers and thunderstorms here from the outer bands of this particular typhoon. You can see the rain showers there. Taiwan, let's go over to Taiwan here real quick. And I believe the northern side, the northern part of it is getting an extreme outer bands of storm currently as we speak, as it approaches.
Yep.
It's up and
Give me 1 second, Nathan, on that footage. I actually want to get an exact location that particular camera is looking out from before we actually throw it up there on this on the stream.
Yeah, we need to verify that before we do it, sure. But in the meantime, we're still looking at that radar imagery as we tick over the new hour. It is now 2 a.m. here in the UK at Force 13 HQ. That means it's 9 a.m. in Taiwan.
9 p.m. Eastern
and
Standard.
10 a.m.